Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And to our panel of witnesses, thank you so much for being here today to discuss the budget request. And I look forward to working with you to help deliver these great products to our farmers, our ranchers, our growers back home in Iowa. I want to echo what you said, Mr. Undersecretary, about the importance of crop insurance. That is absolutely critical to a state like mine, where we've had a devastating derecho, with 140-mile-an-hour winds come through one year, and then 2 years later, it's extreme drought, right? So we have both sides of that as well. So we'll be working very hard to get those programs reauthorized and funded. In Iowa, I want to talk about biofuels because that's a really important part of our local economy. Our consumers, obviously, our drivers have been able to really leverage ethanol blends for years to not only have a lower carbon, but a lower cost option at the pump as well. Sustainable aviation fuel promises really to be the next opportunity for our farmers to be able to produce a clean and reliable fuel. So yesterday, the long-awaited GREET model came out from the administration, as you're all aware, outlining the life cycle carbon reduction for biofuels to determine which feedstocks and fuels are eligible for levels of tax incentives under the new SAF tax credit. So while the revision of GREET could reward farmers for their great conservation practices, I am concerned about the bundling. That's the requirement of kind of an all-or-nothing approach. I think that could essentially disadvantage many farmers who are not able to implement multiple forms of conservation, meaning they're not rewarded for many of the practices that they do implement to reduce their carbon scores. So, Mr. Undersecretary, what factors led to the administration's decision here to require that bundling of those conservation practices under the revised GREET model?
Representative Hinson, your points are well taken. We obviously think sustainable aviation fuel's a critical opportunity for U.S. agriculture, and U.S. agriculture is going to be really good at it. Yesterday was an important step forward, but a step forward. It's a foundation for a longer game. The important steps were we made significant progress on indirect land use in the model that will be helpful to U.S. producers. That I think will benefit Iowa corn growers, Iowa soybean growers. We importantly got climate smart agriculture into the GREET model in a way that will allow us to open the door to get credit for the types of stewardship practices that your producers have been doing for a long time and will continue to do. And we did some important work on traceability to be able to track low carbon intensity corn and soybeans through the supply chain. We need to have a future where we look at more flexibility, the ability to draw not just bundled practices, but different practices, not just corn and soybeans, but canola and a whole range of other practices. USDA is committed to continuing to work with the interagency team as we move forward. You'll see more of us going forward on this. Again, we look at 40B as a foundation, as an important stepping stone. We've got more work to do.
So kind of a follow-up there. I just would be kind of looking for the upcoming guidance on the 45Z tax credit. Are you anticipating that this bundling requirement will apply there, or are you looking at making some changes?
Well, obviously, at the end of the day, it's Treasury's rule. We're heavily engaged. As you know, the Secretary and our entire team engaged on this. We think we'll have time to provide more flexibility, more opportunities there. We're going to work with our interagency partners to do that, and we think USDA could play a really important role here on things like traceability and other places.
Great. Well, that's good to hear, and I look forward to working with you. And
please.
I asked the Secretary about it when he was here a couple weeks ago, so I know Secretary Vilsack well, being a fellow Iowan. So we'll stay in touch on that because that is absolutely critical for the markets and the competitiveness too, because we are competing against many other people who are trying to do the same thing. So I certainly understand that. I want to talk a little bit about kind of building on my colleague from Florida's line of questioning about FSA and NRCS offices as well. I had a chance last year to visit one of those offices and like walk through with the staff what their daily work looks like. And they're doing a great job. Like, they're working very hard. You mentioned that, they're kind of really doing more with less, 2 times the output and the same people. So I was very glad to see that your budget request maintained the funding for the FSA to modernize information technology systems and simplify the application process there. So Administrator Ducheneau, can you share an update on your work to really modernize that technology? Because I was watching them take their cards from one machine to another. I mean, it was a workflow, not like if I was coming in a workflow situation, it looked like a complete nightmare to me.
Yes, I think we've got that matter resolved. Thank you for your observation of that. The work we're doing with IT modernization is really exemplified by what our farm loan program team has been able to do since we've been able to finally secure our contract to carry out the IT roadmap that has been ready to go for 5 years. Then we have to go through a fairly protracted contracting process that includes appeals from contractors that don't get the awards, and that presents challenges with regard to the availability of appropriations that really put us in a challenging spot as it pertains to innovating. We've taken a look at the needs, heard the concerns of producers all across the country, and are working to address that. You'll see our new loan assistance tool, our online application, valuable tools for producers. We're working on an aspect of that for guaranteed loan programs, so lenders can have access to those same type of portals. And we're also working with cooperators in our ecosystem of cooperators to help stand up tools for producers so they have access to some digital resources so they're more prepared when they get to our office. So it's making better use of everybody's time.
Yeah, streamlining is always a good thing.
Absolutely.
And I will follow up with a question for the record on cybersecurity, because I think that's another aspect, but I'll submit that later. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, ma'am.